So a very warm welcome to today's webinar from the UK Climate Resilience Programme. We have a good number of people who's registered despite the summer holidays, so thank you very much for taking the time to be here, and it's really great to see so much interest. So my name is Kate Lonsdale. I'm one of the two champions for the UK Climate Resilience Programme, together with Professor Suraj Desai. We're based at the University of Leeds. So the timing for today is, firstly, I'll start by saying a little bit about the programme that's running this webinar series. And then the focus of today is on the development of the evidence report for the third climate change risk assessment. And we have two excellent speakers. So the first presentation is going to come from Kathryn Brown. And Kathryn's the head of adaptation at the Committee on Climate Change and leading the secretariat that supports the Adaptation Committee, which provides advice to the government on climate risks and opportunities. So Kathryn's going to, so she has a key role in developing the climate change risk assessments, and she'll present on the background to the climate change risk assessment process and the role of the evidence report in this. And then we'll hear from Professor Richard Betts, and Richard's the chair in climate impacts at the University of Exeter and the head of climate impacts at the Met Office Hadley Centre. And so he's a climate scientist that specialises in global ecosystems and water, and a lead author on the IPCC, and was awarded MBE in 2019 for services to understanding climate change. And he's the project director of the team of experts that was commissioned by the Committee on Climate Change to write the technical chapters for the third climate change risk assessment evidence report. And he will talk to us about that process. And then we'll have about 20 to 25 minutes for questions and discussion. So by now, I imagine you're pretty familiar with how webinars work. Here are some of the sort of rules we're using. So we'll start with the presentations and then have the questions and answers. But please post questions at any point during the presentations. And there's this function where you can upvote. So if you see a question you really like the sound of and really want to hear answered, you can upvote it so that to make sure that we get to answer it during the time. You will remain muted unless no slides are being shown. Ah, okay. Sorry. Thanks, Suraj. Okay, can you see slides now? Okay. So yeah, you'll remain muted unless being able to speak by the host. If you have any technical problems, then use the chat function, but the questions should go in the Q&A function. And we're recording these slides and they will be shared after the event. So yeah, the webinar is being recorded. So firstly, just to say a little bit about the programme. So it's delivered by the UKRI, the UK Research Councils, and the Met Office. So it's managed by NERC, so the Natural Environment Research Council, on behalf of the Engineering and Physical Sciences Research Council, the Economic and Social Research Council, and the Arts and Humanities Research Council. And it's been running for about 18 months. And we've got just over 2 years remaining. And we set up this webinar series to communicate the findings of the research that's funded under the programme. Although this webinar is slightly different in that we're funding Richard's time rather than a specific project. So it's his time for writing the evidence report and coordinating the over 300 people and 70 organisations that are involved in developing the evidence report. So you can see from the programme vision, it's to enhance the UK's resilience to climate variability and change through undertaking interdisciplinary research and working with stakeholders and end users to make sure that the research is relevant, usable and useful. And we're working with both Richard and Kathryn to ensure that the results of the research funded by the programme are useful and usable specifically for the climate change risk assessments. So that's CCRA 3 and CCRA 4. We have these three main themes. So the first one is about getting a better understanding of climate-related risks. And this means linking information about climate hazards to information about vulnerability and exposure, and things around things that we're interested in, for example, communities or structures, agricultural systems. And secondly, it's about how we manage those climate-related risks through adaptation. And finally, it's about working with partners to co-develop climate services, so bringing the available climate information and knowledge into planning and decision-making processes. And then just as a bit of an update, if you've been to these webinars before, you'll have seen this advert before. There's a special issue on climate risk management, and this will aid the process of getting information into the climate change risk assessment. And it's being guest edited by Suraj, my co-champion, Hayley Fowler and Dan Mitchell and Jim Hall. And the new information about that is that the deadline has been extended slightly. So it was July, but it's now the 30th of November. So they're looking for multi and interdisciplinary and practitioner-led research to go into that special issue. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Kathryn, who's going to talk a bit about the background to the climate change risk assessment process. Okay, welcome, Kathryn. Over to you.